And here's Kate. She's another mom who is also enrolled in the comprehensive program. And what I'm asking moms, thanks for joining me, Kate. Kate lives in the
I know,
Midwest in the
don't hold on
Chicago
too
quickly.
quickly.
Really quick, I know. Can you tell
Yeah.
us really quick why it was that you decided to work with me in Waves of Communication?
You get that set up. Okay, so mostly one of our sons, had the typical, 16-month regression. He was preemie, but he went from, like 3 words down to nothing. And he's 4 now, almost 4.5. And basically, we are doing everything we can. We don't want to say, oh, I wish I did this. And we have 4 kids. Grant is Rob's little buddy. So Rob is all over this. Anything that can help, we want to do it. He's been in ABA for almost 2 years, and we've heard him say some letters very clearly. His diction is great, but he won't use words. And I mean, ABA has been phenomenal for him, but it's just the speech part. He's always been a social little boy. He has no option. I mean, our kids are all the same age. It's kind of like a mini preschool. So he could never really just run away from everything.
Right, right.
That being said, he is the least social of our kids, but he was like that as a baby too. He doesn't mind people bringing around, but it's like, okay, sometimes I want to be by myself 5 feet away. So yeah, just to get any kind of language back, his skills in school, in his ABA program, I mean, he has the skills, and we actually saw maybe, I want to say about 3 months ago, that he had stalled for a long time and there was just no progress. But we saw about 3 months ago that he did start developing again. And so, hopefully now, and there were a lot of
Yeah.
things that you said about his development, especially in speech, that I really, really agree with. That, there was a period where that speech, sorry, the puppy's licking me, that, there's a reason why the speech stalled, because we've had so many doctors tell us he can talk. There is no reason he cannot talk. So, which is, why at first I thought he had no vocal behaviors that some kids do, like the screeching or the A, E. He never had any of that. What he says is very clear. And they've all said he can talk. Well, okay, let's find out why he's not. But I like what you said. There was a period of time at 1-year-old. He had multiple rounds of antibiotics and ear infections, and what was coming in at that time, he couldn't hear. He did have actually my uncle put tubes in his ears, but it wasn't. I would say it was about 2.5, so it was a little later. And he had his adenoids removed because they were extremely swollen. So I think he did start feeling better after that. But, his chiropractor has been amazing. We've seen a lot, since we started there about a year ago, and we are trying a new technique. And, one of the, what is it? It's called, I'm not going to, the acronym, forget the acronym for it anyway, but it's a lot about what you talk about, is going back to basics and getting those connections down.
Yeah.
Muscatova.
All
And
right.
are you familiar with that?
It's one of them. There's that, there's RDI, there's Sunrise,
Yeah.
there's lots of
Okay.
programs out there that do facilitate that engagement because, like you
Yeah.
said, what happens, you're right, in that period of time that kids don't hear, they forget or they don't develop the skills of how to pay attention to language. And so it doesn't really serve them. So they just sort of get out of the habit of focusing on people talking. And that engagement is definitely, the first part about it. So, and you also, I know that you've done, I mean, like you said, you have done everything and you really work with diet with your kids too.
Yes.
Um, So, you know, between all of those things, the chiropractic, the diet, you know, his sort of new attention, being able to pay attention and focus, all that stuff you had going for you, but there was something missing, obviously, that, you know,
Yes.
you didn't have. And is that what Waves of Communication did for you, was fill in that space?
Yeah. Well, it hasn't been that long yet. So, what I can say that we have seen is, an increased want to, pull us in. He's not getting into the toys yet, really that much or anything. Books, yes, which is, how we saw Andrew starting with books. So that's promising. This is sitting on my table right now. He'll
Yeah.
bring Peppa books over, or, we've got them all around the house. Everyone still loves Peppa.
Yeah.
So, I'm hoping with another thing you mentioned, I thought when he wanted to get into more social things, then his speech would develop. But you mentioned, what his speech is going to develop first, and then he's going to want to do more things. And so I think it's a lot of, I think our biggest thing has been the idea so far, because we haven't seen speech yet. But the idea that, what, it's not something that we're just going forward and changing. Wait, we have to go back. We have to go back to where the development stopped, do that, and hopefully they have their first Muscatova session next week, so we'll see how that goes. But
Yeah.
hopefully that will catch him up, and then then I'm hoping the speech will come more naturally, because Andrew has just blossomed. I mean, Rob got back after 10 days, and I said, "What do you think about his speech?" He's like, "Yeah, it's really good." Um,
Yeah.
I kick
Yeah.
myself for not
Well, and
getting
it's,
him this show.
you're sort of a, you've got your own sort of little language lab that you can do analysis with sort of in your own house, because,
Yeah,
you're using all of these strategies with, you have three triplets, and two are late talkers, but they're all at different stages. So,
mhm,
just having the one child who is just needs a little bit of language facilitation to get him really on his path. That worked great for Andrew. And then your other little guy is still a little bit
yeah,
farther behind. He's, moving a little bit more slowly on his
yeah,
journey, but definitely
yeah.
making progress as far as his engagement and things like that. So,
And his receptive language is very good. I'll put him at about a 2.5-year-old.
oh,
And he knows,
great.
he tests you. He tests you just like a 2-year-old. He knows, he looks at you out of the corner of his eye, oh, I'm going to do this, or, So, yeah, it's just that expressive language that has to keep up. But, I hope we're on the right track with kind of going back in the development, because, you can't skip that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that's what happens with most late talkers, is something happens, like you
Yeah.
said, to stop them from being able to learn how to learn language.
Yeah.
And then, so you have to kind of reteach them from the beginning.